There are women who wake up every day with a question that no one around them seems to be asking. While the world chases after goals, status, and distractions, they feel an inner thirst for meaning. It's not drama, nor exaggeration. It's as if ordinary life is too small for what they carry inside. They can't live on autopilot because something within them demands truth, depth, and purpose. And even when they try to fit in, everything seems colorless, soulless, without any real sparkle. It's that feeling of something's missing, that which cannot be changed by money, fame, or approval. This woman isn't just looking for comfort, she's looking for meaning, and that changes everything. She may achieve things, buy things, reach places, but inside the same question remains. Why am I here? What is my mission? What does all this really mean? And when she can't find answers, she feels restless, as if she's betraying herself. This makes her seem intense to those who live on the surface, but in reality she is just genuine, and her energy delivers a vibe which doesn't fit into any environment or any conversation. She often approaches books, philosophy, depth psychology, and spirituality without even realizing it. She doesn't do it to seem smart, she does it because it's the only place where her soul breathes. She connects with ideas that speak of inner evolution and not just of winning in life. And when she discovers Jung, she feels as if someone has finally described what she experienced in silence. It's like looking at a hidden part of your own history and thinking, so this is who I am. This recognition is mind-blowing, because everything starts to make sense for the first time. But this pursuit comes at an emotional cost. She can't feign satisfaction with superficiality. She can't stand living only for partying, gossip, appearances, and external validation as if that's all there is to it. She tries, but returns home feeling empty, as if she's wasting her time on something that doesn't nourish her. And this makes her feel different, sometimes even strange, as if she were in the wrong world. But the truth is, she wasn't born to live small. She was born to live consciously. If you can relate to this, comment below. Has this ever happened to you too? Real talk. And here's the twist. That first sign isn't a flaw. It's a mark of an old soul. Because a woman with an old soul doesn't accept merely surviving. She wants to understand and transform herself. She's not looking for a perfect life on the outside. She wants a real life on the inside. And when she finds her own path, she becomes a force that no one can stop. So if this chapter resonated with you, subscribe to the channel now, because the next signs will hit you hard. And tell me in the comments, do you feel you were born for something greater, or do you try to diminish yourself to fit in? Low-key. There are women who, since childhood, have felt that there was something about them that didn't fit in with the rest of the world. It's not arrogance or superiority. It's a silent feeling of displacement, as if they were from another place. While other people enjoyed simple things, she found herself observing, reflecting, and feeling too much. She laughed, joked, participated, but deep down it always seemed like there was an invisible distance. And this distance wasn't coldness, it was depth. It was an awareness that was growing too early. It's the kind of feeling that Americans today would call, I never really fit in. This woman learns to adapt very early on because she understands that being different is hard work. She realizes that if she shows her true self, she might be judged, rejected, or called strange. So she creates a lighter, more social, more acceptable version, just to avoid problems. But deep down, she never loses that feeling of watching the world as if it were a movie. She observes people acting on impulse, driven by ego, or for appearances, and senses that something is missing. And this causes her to carry a loneliness that no one notices, because she seems fine. Often she feels like someone who arrived too early, or too late, for this time. The noise of the modern world is tiring. The rush is exhausting. Superficiality weighs us down, and excessive stimulation suffocates us. She doesn't understand how so many people can live without questioning themselves, without looking inward, without stopping. She feels that life has a greater calling, but she can't always explain it with words. And because she can't explain it, she keeps it to herself, and this silence becomes a form of emotional protection. She lives with that energy of deep on the inside and normal on the outside, which is exhausting. The most curious thing is that this being different even shows up in the way she connects with people. She is not easily charmed by attention, she doesn't settle for the basics, and she dislikes empty connections. She can be surrounded by people and still feel like there's no one there who truly sees her. Because she doesn't just want conversation, she wants truth, presence, soul, a real connection. And when she doesn't find that, she withdraws, not out of pride but out of self-preservation. And that's when that very typical behavior emerges. She disappears for a while, ghost mode, to breathe. But there's an important detail. This woman isn't difficult. She's rare. She wasn't born to fit in just anywhere. She was born to carefully choose where she invests her energy. She can't blend in with everything because her soul senses when something isn't genuine. And that explains why she often preferred to be alone rather than in bad company. Now tell me the truth. Have you ever felt like this since childhood, as if you were too different? If so, comment, "I've always been like this," and subscribe, because the signs will only get more intense later. No cap. There are women who are unable to eat what most people consider normal. Empty talk, automatic praise, forced laughter, a presence without genuine feeling. This is more tiring than helpful. They try to participate, they try to fit in, but they feel like they're playing a character. And Carl Jung explained this through person, the social mask we wear to be accepted. But a woman with an old soul senses when she's living only behind a mask, and that suffocates her soul. It's as if the body is in one place, but the mind is screaming. This is not it, very quietly. She wants what is real, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts, even if it requires courage. She doesn't get attached to people who only talk about appearances, gossip, money, or competition. And often she withdraws because she realizes that the world is full of performance and empty of presence. According to Jung, when someone lives too much in the persona, the soul begins to create a huge internal conflict. And this conflict turns into anxiety, irritation, sadness for no reason. Because the true self gets trapped. That's why she prefers depth, because she wants to live in it. Alignment, and not in action. She finds pleasure in conversations that go beyond the obvious and reach places most people don't dare to venture. She likes to talk about fear, truth, purpose, pain, healing, transformation, destiny, shadow, and consciousness. Yes, the shadow. Jung said that the shadow, it's the hidden part that we avoid facing in ourselves. And the woman with the old soul, even without knowing it, always felt that running from the shadows makes life false. So she seeks relationships where she can be whole, where she doesn't have to hide her deepest thoughts. Because for her, a true connection is when there is depth, and not when there is only physical presence. And this even changes the way she loves. She doesn't want theatrical romance. She wants a real connection. She doesn't want someone to post photos with. She wants someone who has the courage to look inside themselves. She doesn't need perfection. She needs truth, character, soul, and emotional consistency. Jung called this process of maturation, individuation, when you stop living to please others. And when she begins individuation, she naturally distances herself from the shallow, because the shallow no longer sustains her. And so she prefers to be alone rather than live surrounded by people and feel drained inside. So pay attention. If you're always tired of superficiality, that's not being picky. It's a sign. It's a sign that you perceive what others ignore, feel what others suppress, and see beyond the surface. And if you're watching this right now and thinking, "Oh my God, that's me," comment here, "I feel that." And subscribe to the channel, because in the next chapter you'll understand why loneliness calls to you so much. You're not weird for wanting depth. You're just tired of living in mode.fake. And as Jung said, that which is true within you will always demand space to exist. A woman with an old soul not only enjoys being alone, she needs it as a vital necessity. It's not escapism, it's not weakness, it's not antipathy, and it's certainly not fussiness, as some people say. She needs to be alone because the world is too noisy and her mind perceives everything intensely. Carl Jung said that contact with the unconscious requires silence, because it is in silence that the soul speaks. And the more profound a person is, the more they need this inner space to organize their own world. It's as if solitude is the place where she becomes herself again, herself. No pressure, no mask, no noise. While many recharge with parties, conversation, and movement, she recharges with silence and presence. She enters the room, shuts off the world, breathes, and feels as if she's finally coming home. She thinks, remembers, writes, cries, creates, meditates, prays. And that is not sadness, it is integration. Jung said that human beings need to integrate internal content in order not to be dominated by it. And solitude is precisely that place. The place where she processes emotions and transforms pain into wisdom. Therefore, when she runs out of time alone, she feels overwhelmed even if everything seems normal. Many people call this loneliness, but she understands the difference between loneliness and sacred solitude. Loneliness is lack, abandonment, emptiness. But her solitude is a choice, a healing, an inner rediscovery. It is at this moment that she listens to her intuition, feels life for real, and reconnects with purpose. Jung said that individuation happens when you have the courage to look inward without distraction. And that's exactly why the woman with an old soul withdraws. She needs that emotional immersion. She doesn't run away from people. She runs away from the superficiality that leaves her mentally tired. But here's the tricky part. The world will try to convince you that being alone is a failure. They'll say you're closed off, cold, strange, difficult, just because you don't constantly demand attention. However, Carl Jung warned that those who do not confront their own inner selves end up living unconsciously. And this woman cannot live asleep inside because her conscience is too strong. She doesn't want to live on autopilot, she wants to live awake, and that requires time with herself. That's why she disappears sometimes, goes into quiet mode, and then it comes back stronger than before. And I want to ask you something very direct. Do you feel guilty for needing silence? Have you ever felt wrong for preferring to be alone rather than in places that drain your energy? If so, comment, I need my solitude, Fu, because you're not alone in this way of being. If this chapter described you, subscribe to the channel now, because the next episode is about absurd empathy. And when I talk about this, you'll understand why you feel the weight of the world on your heart, for real. As Jung taught, what you do not honor within yourself becomes suffering, but what you integrate becomes strength. There are women who enter a room and feel the energy even before anyone says a word. They perceive tension, sadness, falsehood, joy, as if the body were an emotional antenna. And that's no exaggeration. It's a deep sensitivity that makes it impossible to pretend everything is all right. She often smiles politely, but deep down she already understands who is suffering and who is masking their pain. She can sense when someone is broken inside even if the person says everything's fine. It's the kind of thing an American would call, I can feel it even without proof. Her empathy isn't something she does. It's something that happens to her. She doesn't choose to feel so much, she just feels it, and sometimes that becomes a heavy burden to bear, because she can't watch someone suffering and simply turn her face away as if it weren't her problem. She puts herself in their place, connects with them, empathizes, and that can completely drain her energy. And often she doesn't know if she's sad for herself or for the world around her. She stays overloaded even without having done anything out of the ordinary. She also often carries people on her back without realizing it. She becomes a support, a comforting presence, a counselor, a point of stability for those who are lost. And the problem is that the world loves to consume women like that, because they heal without charging anything. But when she spends too much time doing that, she starts to feel empty and weak. Because nobody asks if she's okay either, since she seems strong all the time. And then inside she thinks, who takes care of me? This empathy also makes her feel different in relationships. She notices lies, manipulation, inconsistencies, and she can't pretend she didn't see them. She can sense when a person is present in body but absent in soul. And this creates a tremendous need for truth, because her soul doesn't feed on emotional crumbs. Carl Jung said that when someone ignores their own inner world, This repressed energy manifests itself in shadows and games, and she sees this, which protects her, but also makes her tired. So if you've always felt like you absorb the atmosphere of a place and the pain of the people, that's a powerful sign. And I need to ask you, have you ever left a place feeling exhausted, as if you had fought an invisible war? If so, comment, "I feel everything," because this is more common in old souls than you might imagine. And if you're enjoying this content, subscribe now because the next sign is surprising. The next sign is the calm that arises within you amidst the chaos, as if the world were breaking apart and you were remaining whole. And as Carl Jung taught, what you feel deeply can be the path to your purpose. While many despair when everything goes wrong, she becomes silent inside. Not because she doesn't feel, but because she has an awareness that understands that everything passes. She observes the chaos and instead of breaking, she breathes and remains firm as a rock. People notice it without understanding why, and instinctively seek her out when the world falls apart. It's as if her presence is saying without words, "You will survive this." This calmness has a Viba level of security that is rare these days. She doesn't need to give motivational speeches. She doesn't need to recite prepared phrases. She doesn't need to act forcefully. She is simply stable, and that changes the entire environment because emotional stability is contagious. When everyone else is reactive, she can see clearly as if her mind has become cooler. And that's a sign of inner maturity. She learned not to get lost in external storms. She learned that today's despair may be just a chapter, not the end of the story. And that makes her seem like a person, grounded even when it hurts. Many times it became strong because it was broken too soon. She needed to learn how to survive emotionally, so she developed a resilient inner center. And now, when problems arise, she doesn't panic like someone who has never faced anything before. She has seen life change. She has seen people leave. She has seen dreams die and be reborn. Then she understands that suffering is not a sign of the end. It's a sign of transformation happening. And this awareness makes her the kind of person who can hold on to the pain without being swallowed by it. Real. Carl Jung explained that there is an inner strength capable of sustaining opposites without collapsing. And as this woman matures, she develops the ability to navigate chaos without losing her essence. She manages to hold on to both sadness and hope at the same time, without becoming a prisoner of either. She looks at the problem and thinks, "Okay, this is difficult, but I'll get through it with dignity." And the truth is, deep down, she already knows that nothing external can destroy who she has become on the inside. That's why she becomes the advisor, the one others call when no one else knows what to do. Now I want to ask you a tough question. Have you ever noticed that in moments of chaos, you become calm? Have you ever been that person who held everyone together even when you were falling apart inside? If so, comment, "I am a safe haven," because that's not common. That's a mark of an old soul. And if you want to continue on this journey, subscribe to the channel, because the next video is about letting go of material possessions. You'll understand why certain things that seduce the world never truly seduced you. No cap. And as Carl Jung said, true strength is not noise, it's silent depth. There is a type of woman who senses things before they fully happen. It's not guesswork, it's not paranoia, it's not drama. It's an internal radar that picks up invisible details. She enters a place and already knows if it's peaceful, deceitful, dangerous, or has negative energy. She talks to someone, and even if the person speaks eloquently, she senses whether there is truth behind it. And when she says, "I don't know how to explain it, but I feel it," she's usually right. It's that feeling of my gut is telling me something that never fails. This woman notices subtle changes in the gaze, tone of voice, attitudes, and atmosphere. She notices contradictions that go unnoticed by everyone else, and that protects her from a lot of things. She can sense when someone is hiding something, when an intention isn't pure, when there's a hidden agenda. And because of this, she avoids paths that seemed perfect on the outside but were wrong on the inside. Often people call this an exaggeration, until the day everything is revealed and she was right. Then comes that phrase, "You were right," but usually too late. But this strong intuition comes at a price. She lives in a world that demands proof for everything. And because she knows things without being able to explain them logically, many people don't believe her. She's been called crazy, insecure, overly sensitive, when in reality she simply sees beyond the obvious. She senses the danger before the fall, the lie before the confirmation, the end before the announcement. And this can lead to loneliness, because not everyone is ready to live with someone so aware. She stays quiet and observes, because explaining to someone who can't see is exhausting. Carl Jung said that intuition is a psychological function that captures future possibilities. And this woman lives very connected to this type of perception, as if her mind were reading invisible patterns. She is not guided solely by what is rational. She is guided by what is true in body and soul. And the more she learns to trust that, the less she sabotages herself by trying to please others. She begins to respect this gift, even if no one understands it, even if no one validates it, because she already paid the price for ignoring her intuition, and she doesn't want to pay it again. Now answer me honestly. How many times have you ignored your intuition and then regretted it? How many times have you tried to overthink and ended up putting yourself in situations that your heart warned you to avoid? If this has ever happened to you, comment, "I'm going to trust myself more," because that's a real step towards maturity. And if you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel, because the last signal is the strongest of all. In the next chapter, you will understand why you see masks, intentions, and games that no one else notices. And as Carl Jung taught, when you awaken from within, you can no longer feign blindness. A woman with an old soul sees beyond what people show her. She can tell when someone is smiling but their heart is empty, or when someone speaks beautifully but is manipulative. She reads energy, she reads intention, she reads coherence, and that makes her very difficult to fool. Not because she is distrustful, but because she is observant, profound, and emotionally aware. She can tell when someone wants to dominate, when they want to use her, when they just want to take advantage of what's good in her. That's why she doesn't buy into any story. She senses the red flag, no R. She can tell when someone is wearing a social mask, a rehearsed version, a perfect persona. And this happens a lot in environments where everyone wants to appear strong, happy, superior, or well-adjusted. But she sees what's behind it: insecurity, hurt, neediness, vanity, fear, emptiness. And the craziest thing is that she doesn't judge. She just perceives, and that perception changes everything. Because she knows that many people aren't bad. They're just hurt and trying to survive in the wrong way. But even understanding, she doesn't give in easily. Because she doesn't want to become someone's emotional toy. Carl Jung said that when you don't confront your own shadow, you begin to project it onto others. And this woman easily recognizes projections because she has seen this pattern many times in her life. She knows when someone is attacking her for something they actually hate in themselves. She knows when someone criticizes her brilliance because they feel small inside. She knows when someone is trying to control her because they're afraid of losing her, and when they're trying to humiliate her because they're broken. And because she sees this, she protects herself with silence, with distance, with firmness. No drama. But this clarity can also be painful, because real connection becomes rare. She can no longer have fun with fake relationships, nor pretend that everything is fine when everything is wrong. She can't live on emotional crumbs because she knows the value of genuine presence. She wants someone who has the courage to be real, and that's not common in a world addicted to appearances. That's why sometimes she feels surrounded by people, but alone inside because no one can reach her depths. She thinks, where are the people with soul? And that is lonely but real. And here's the most important conclusion. If you have these signs, you're not broken. You're awakening. You're not being too difficult. You just don't accept just anything as love and truth anymore. You are evolving, and that scares people who are still living in a state of emotional slumber. So, I want to ask you, which of these 10 signs resonated with you the most? Comment below with the number or describe it in your own way, because your story can help other women. And if you want to continue this journey with me, subscribe to the channel now, because the world needs women like this. For real.